As promised, I am going live all this week on Facebook and Instagram. So earlier today I recorded cross-platform Instagram and Facebook at the same time. But unfortunately there was a problem with the audio on Facebook, and I think it was something that I was doing on my end and it just didn't work, so I had to delete that video. So I decided to come back this evening and do a little recap because I do want to honor my commitment to doing video every day this week on both platforms, Instagram and Facebook. So what I'm doing here is I'm sharing a little bit about myself and what I do. And then also I have a free download that I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to review. And we all know someone who's looking for a job, or we know someone who could use a little bit of help in their job search. Maybe you're not looking for something, or maybe you're an entrepreneur like me and you don't work a 9 to 5 anymore, but we all have people in our lives who do, and looking for a job is one of the hardest things that anyone has to do. It's also something that we have to do solo, and we don't necessarily like having to do that alone. So I wanted to be able to offer my assistance. In my experience, and I am reading some of this from my script, in my experience as a career and success strategist, I have found that most people experiencing a career shift, whether by choice or not, and when I mean not by choice, they could be going through a downsizing, maybe they recently experienced a layoff. There are some changes happening with their current employer, and it's causing some problems or causing some changes that are affecting their life. So most people who experience a career shift will also experience a life change, and ultimately, or at least have what I call, or like to call, a life on the cusp of change. If the change isn't already affecting their home life, it has the potential to. And that can be a bad thing. Most Americans and all working people, we work so much for countless hours per day. There's absolutely no way that our lives will not be affected by a changing career. And so what I have done is I have decided, and I decided this many years ago, but only recently, within the last year, decided to just really put myself out there. I decided that my purpose really is to help people, and I've known that for a while, but I needed to fully commit to it and just go for it and do it. So it took me a long time to figure that out. A lot of you know I moved to Southern California about 17 years ago, and it was just after the crash of the dot-com era in Silicon Valley. I wasn't able to find work, or at least not able to find decent work with the same pay rate that I was used to making, and I was making some really good money in Silicon Valley. So I moved to Southern California. I had the hardest time finding a job, and all I wanted at the time was for someone to help me. And very few people came through for me. I can only think of one in particular, a very good friend of mine, who pretty much held my hand through the whole experience, and she was very instrumental in helping me get my start in human resources. And that's what led me to the work that I do today as a career counselor. So eventually I got it all together and launched my career in human resources, which lasted more than a decade and a half. And during that time, I went back to school and completed a graduate degree in psychology and launched a consulting practice in career counseling on the side. That's my full-time gig now, but it was something that I did just kind of as a way to be helpful to people in my life. People that I went to church with, people that I met through work, and people who were struggling in different ways. It was something that I decided I committed myself to doing and helping others as a way of giving back. And at the time, I gave away my services. I did everything for free. I reviewed resumes, I wrote resumes, I did mock interviews, I did everything for free, all in an effort to help people find gainful employment that they needed to help themselves and help their families. Not everyone is interested in working for themselves. Not everyone is interested in being an entrepreneur. Not everyone is interested in sacrificing the way you have to, the way it's required when you're working for a startup. Some people really do just want a 9 to 5 job, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's where I come in. I'm here to help you not get the 9 to 5, but I help you prepare for that work. I help you get your foot in the door. I help build your confidence. I encourage you. If encouragement is what you need, I'll encourage you. If you need to rebuild your confidence, I'll help you do that. There was a time when I would walk into an office with a candidate, a resume, walk into an office with a candidate, resume in hand, and I would just build them up to the supervisor and say, hey, you remember last week when we were talking about your need for a marketing manager? Well, here's your guy. I just brought him in for you. And I would introduce these people to the hiring managers and make great connections on their behalf. And 9 times out of 10, they worked. Very few people didn't work out. It was always a good match. Having an inside connection with these employers, and then knowing people on the outside, what their skill set was, what their abilities were, what their talents were, what they were looking for. I was able to make a great connection, and it just always seemed to work out most of the time. So where do you begin? Typically when working with me, oddly enough, the first place you will begin is with your resume. I don't write resumes anymore. I don't edit them. I might take a look at one if I'm working with a client and say, hey, you want to make some changes in this area just to better your chances of actually having a conversation with the hiring manager. But I certainly don't write them anymore. I just don't have time to do that. And it's frankly, it's just not as lucrative as I was hoping it would be. So during the initial consultation, when working with me, I'll ask you questions that help me get to know you and your work history and your ethic, and I'll make suggestions for improvement, and then give you some homework, basically. Personally, I prefer face-to-face interactions, but I do work remotely. I'm offering 17 years of experience in human resources specifically, but more than 25 years of work experience. I am a Gen Xer. I've been around the block a few times, and I have tried and true methods that work. My background in HR has given me 10 years as a corporate recruiter and given me the insight into what hiring managers are looking for, what the interview process is like. I've conducted hundreds of interviews and know what works and what doesn't. I want to share with you a couple of products that I have available, and I just want to make sure that everyone's aware. I don't really self-promote a lot, but I guess that's going to change this coming year. I wanted to share with you a guide that I put together. It's called the 2018 Competitive Edge Job Search Guide, and this is free for anyone who is in need of something like this. You can find this on my website, calispresso.com. There is a link up in the top right-hand corner where you can just click for free download, and this will pop up, and you'll be able to download it, save it to your computer, or print it. It's absolutely free. 100% catch free. I don't even ask for your email address. I probably should to put you on my mailing list, but I don't. I'm giving this away, and it's for you to use and share with your friends and your family, anyone you know who might be able to use this. And it's just a really quick, short little guide, and it has some job search tips. It has resume writing tips, interview etiquette, things that we probably all should know or think we know, but maybe need a refresher. Or if you're new to the workforce, then this is some good information for you. Or if you're re-entering after having been with the same employer for a long time, you might want to revisit some of this information. It's about 10 or 12 pages long. It's not very long at all. Again, that's a free download, the 2018 Competitive Edge Job Search Guide. It was revised from 2015 when I originally delivered this material to the Magic Johnson Foundation's Taylor Michael Scholarship Program recipients. That was the first time I did this in the form of a webinar, and it was very well received. So get your hands on this. Again, calispresso.com, or you can click the link in my bio. It should be on my bio. If not, you can follow me on Instagram. It's in that bio for sure. I want to share also that this guide, I have been working the last few weeks on revising it and expanding it into a full-scale workbook that includes worksheets. There's some action items that you can take and some assistance to help move you through the resume writing process so you can rewrite or revise your resume on your own. You don't need to hire a resume writer if you don't mind doing a little bit of homework yourself. And so the guide, the revised and expanded version will be available for purchase next month, via my website, again, caliespresso.com. And the price on this is very inexpensive. It's only going to be $19.95, and it's about 3 times the size, maybe 4 times the size of this original guide. So you want to get your hands on a copy of that. Again, caliespresso.com, $19.95. The last thing I wanted to share with you before I go is that I wanted to share some helpful tips on how I stay productive, how I get things done. And unfortunately, I didn't bring the full-scale example in here with me to share with you. But what I do is I write everything down. I like to make lists. I like to check them off as I go along. It makes me feel uber productive. And it just helps me get things done. It helps me stay on track. And I don't have the example, so I'm just going to have to tell you about it. But what I did was I created a planner that works for me. And the planner is comprehensive. It appeals to both the right brain and left brain. I am a creative person, but I am also very analytical and highly productive and a business owner, and I need to stay on task. So I have created this journal that works for me, and I'm making it available to everyone out there, making it available to the public. It will also be on my website, caliespresso.com, and the starting price on that, or the initial offer on that one, is going to be at $39.95. And this planner, it's called the Ultimate Productivity Planner, is enough to last you for the year. There's a few extra pages in there, so if you happen to use 2 or 3 pages per day, then you can certainly do that. The days or the sheets are not pre-dated, so you can have at it. There is space for you to write down your task and then list a couple of objectives for each one of those tasks, and there's a 2-hour time frame. So you set your timer for 2 hours, you work consistently for those 2 hours, and then you take a 10-minute break. And on the side, there's a little pie chart where you can track your progress. You can indicate that you completed 25% of this project, 50%, 75%, or you completed all of the objectives that you listed there and shade in the entire pie chart to show that it is 100% complete. At the beginning of the journal, at the beginning of each day, I start off with asking the question, what are you grateful for right now? I believe it's Oprah who keeps a gratefulness journal, and it's something that I've recently started doing, and I find it helpful to remind myself of all of the things that I already have, all of the things that I am grateful for. And then as you progress through the steps, there are 4 task lines. So there's 4 task lines, which are equivalent to 8 hours a day, assuming you work 8 hours. But if you want to work a little bit less or work a little bit more, you can do that. The last line on the first page is space for you to basically evaluate your level of productivity for that day. How productive were you that day? Are you happy with the level of productivity that you put out that day? Were there distractions? Were there interruptions? Were there things that just didn't work for you and allowed you to work at your full capacity? Is it your environment, your location? Do you need to change some things? And then the last question on the page is where you ask yourself, would you give yourself a raise today? Based on your efforts and everything that you've done that day, would you give yourself a raise? And I think that's very important to ask, especially if you work for yourself. Are you putting out the effort to warrant an increase in your salary? It's something I'm constantly asking myself. How productive am I? How much value in the work that I create am I putting out for people? And can I reasonably charge this amount of money for the information that I'm sharing, the knowledge that I have, and the expertise and experience that I offer my clients? And for me, the answer is most often yes, but if I ever fall short, come up just a little bit under, then I have to reassess what I'm offering. I have to increase the material or increase the information or offer more. So one of the things that I'm working on right now are seminars, face-to-face seminars. I am fortunate enough to live in an area where I have access to a 33-seat theater room at no charge. So I can open that theater room up for seminars, and I'm looking forward to doing that and having women attend the seminar. And what I'm thinking about doing is offering those women who attend the seminar, the 2018 competitive job search guide, competitive edge job search guide, the revised and expanded version at a discount, and then offering the planner at a reduced price as well. Maybe I'll offer the job search guide free and the planner at a discounted rate for those people who attend one of my upcoming seminars. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure that I honored my commitment to go live on Facebook every day this week on my page, Callie Espresso, and I want to thank everyone who has recently liked the page, shared the page, started following, and if you haven't already, please do so. I do have a goal in mind for Instagram anyways. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to work Facebook, but I'm going to do the same thing on Facebook right now that I'm doing on Instagram and see how that works out. But I know with the Instagram algorithms change so that you really want to put yourself out there on live video as much as possible and share quality content and ask your followers to share your videos and like your videos. And so I really want to do that because my goal is to ultimately have 10,000 followers on Instagram because I want to reach the greatest number of people possible and help them with their job search and their life on the cusp of change. I want to help them, like my tagline says, navigate the winds of change that often blow through our lives and careers. And the best way for me to be able to do that is to just share, and offer some free content at the same time. Later this week, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A where I answer some of the most commonly asked interview questions. I'll give you some example responses. And what else can I tell you? I have some interviews coming up for my podcast, Callie Espresso podcast, Life on the Cusp of Change. You can find that on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. Download, subscribe, listen, and let me know what you think. If you want to be on the show and you have a experience or something that's relevant to what I have going on with that, I'd love to talk to you about it. But upcoming, I have an interview with a retired Navy veteran who changed her life. She's going to talk about how she made the transition from a life of service to civilian life and built a career in real estate. And also I have an interview coming up with the former chair of the Susan G. Komen Foundation, a good friend of mine, Arnedra Jordan, who is the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization called Changing Shoes that helps women re-enter the workforce. And I'll have more information on that later this week. So that's it, I think. That's enough. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you share it. I hope you get something out of it. If you have suggestions, feedback, anything, I'm open. I'm totally open at this point. And I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.